All right, Bassett. Hey, so this video, I'm going to talk about, let's start changing things up a little bit. We're obviously not getting a lot of properties. We're not getting any properties under contract. Super competitive right now. Inventory is still extremely low. I could go into all that later, but you already know all these things. So we don't need to kind of beat that dead horse, right? So let's talk about how we need to change this up so we can get a little more aggressive and get some more properties. So as right now, I can see that you're running a lot of 22% and a lot of 20%. Let's change this up. Let's do 20% on houses, and let's do 0.18 for condos. I'm going to leave this in here, and townhouses. Okay. So let's start running with those numbers. That's the first piece. So that'll help you get a little more aggressive with your pricing and get this dialed in. Now let's talk about the second piece is comping properties. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this Hoy property because it's actually a pretty good example of how we can go about comping these better. So as you know, right now, our we're going back a half a year and pulling comps. This doesn't all right now in this market. That's a half a year comp is just too far back. We can still use them, and I'm going to show you how we can use them, but we have to be smarter about how we're comping our properties. Here's the reason. Denver last year, the average home price went up 20%. So if you want to let that sink in for a second, 20%, a $500,000 house sold for, $500,000 in 2019 or in 2021 and 2022. That $500,000 house is selling for 600,000. So you can see how quickly we can get out of comp range on this. So they're anticipating a little bit slower growth in 2022, but they're still predicting that we're going to have up to 18% um, price growth in the Denver market this year alone. So what that means is any comps that are 6 months back, we already know that those comps are mispriced by 10%, right? Because they've been going up 20%. Or let's use this year's figures, 9%. So on a $300,000 house, if we're using a comp, an ARV comp that's 6 months old, let's say it's $300,000, you can just quickly do the math, times 0.9%, that's a $27,000 increase that we have to apply to that ARV comp if it's 6 months old. So let's get into this. So I'm going to leave this alone, and let's just take a look at our 6 month comps. So this Hoy property is a good example because I was trying to comp this, and we've got this pending at 350, right? Which is a decent comp. I don't know what the inside looks like, but the square footage, everything else lines up. Is on the market for not even a day when in a contract at 350. Um, and so, but then we have this Kemper property that is clear back from last summer that sold for 323, and it's not even that nice inside. Okay, so we're already starting to know that we are going to be above this 323 and probably be around this 350. So yeah, let's say we didn't have this pending here. This is the only one we had to go off of. So what I'm saying, when you look at a comp and you're really starting to narrow down on which comps you want to use for your ARV, see when they sold and apply a little bit of math to it. All right. So on this one, we know that this is a 6 month old comp. We know that our house is going to sell for probably 9% more than this comp. So we can't use this as an ARV anymore. We have to get smarter about this because the market's changing too quickly and we're not keeping up. And so this is how we're going to go about it. We're going to take 323 and we're going to times that by 9% times 0.09. I know this is a little bit more work, but this gets us in the range of our ARV. When I do the math, that means that we increased this ARV comp by 352. All right, or now that's comp is now $352,000. All right, so we know that ours is going to sell for quite a bit more than this because it sold so far back. So when we go back to our results with doing our math, we're falling right in line with this under contract pending. So when you're doing your comps, make sure you pay attention to how old your comps are. If this comp sold last month, then obviously stick with the 323. If this comp sold 6 months ago, apply a little bit of math to it and try to get a better comp value out of this. If you got a pending and you got a sold here and your math is lining up with your under contract price, you already know you've got a pretty good idea between these two what that property's current today's ARV value is. So hopefully that makes sense. Hit me back with questions. I expect questions on this because we are changing things up a little bit. But I mean, you've been putting out offers for a little bit now. You've put out 80 offers, 88 offers, 87 offers at this point, and we haven't gotten one under contract. So this is how let's change this up a little bit. Let's see if we can get a little more aggressive, and this is how we want to go about it.